All right, United States General Accounting Office report of congressional requesters. High skill training grants for HB1 visas. Fees meets the specific workforce needs for the more varying skill levels. Your result is in brief. The background of the skill grants for the offering training and flexible service delivery with the scholarship grants of the offer educational through the degree program. Skill grant for the scholarship grants designed to meet the workforce needs through the skill levels for the which they are various national efforts of the coordination strategy the high school needs and local coordination of the show promises conclusion and the recommendation for the accommodations. I probably will read the appendixes later, but the scope and methodology, survey sent for the skill grant recipients details data of the skill grant programs detailed of the NSF Computer Science, Engineering, Mathematics Scholarship Program, the areas of the training for the first 43 skill grants, the key federal programs initiative for the high skills component, the components of the Department of Labor, the commitment for the National Science Foundation commitments, Department of the Departments of Commerce, the government accounting office contacts, the staff acknowledgement, the government accounting office contacts and self acknowledgement tables. In Table 10, top 10 accommodations categories, the HB1 visa petitions approved official year 2001, the skill grants the recipients received, the post-secondary educational institution visited, participation enrolled in the training, gender of the participation, age of the participation, race, ethnic participation, employment status of participation of the time of the enrollment, the education status of the participation of the time of enrollment, participation we intended to attain with the following of the results of the program, participation organization obtained by the triad of the obtaining the HB1 visa, of application data, the identifying skill shortages of the HPH high skill occupation local areas. Other methods of identifying skill shortages in high skilled occupation local areas, normal employees needing high skilled workforce, the organization workforce before and after receiving the grant, and role of one staffing system of the HB1 skills training program, methods of the grant, and grantees planning the using and sustaining a skill grant, training, gender of the participation of the IT training, the race and the ethnicity of the participation in IT training, characterized computer skills, engineering, mathematics scholarship recipients of the May 1st, 2002 occupation with the grantees of the first and three funding rounds provided with the training. The figures their age participation, highest educational level participation attained before the training participation, women, African Americans, Hispanics participation skill grants of the IT as compared with the U.S. IT workforce status of the participation January 31st, 2002 funding source of the 43 grants except for the use of the standing skill training programs compares to the demographic characterized current scholarship programs students and students awarded related baccalaureate degrees in the United States 1990 the number of the guarantees were offering the training the number of the grantees who offered in training in various categories scholarship programs students majors by categories. All right, abbreviations. Your ATLES is the Apprenticeship Training Employer Labor Services. The ETA is the Employment Training Administration. The EHR is the Education and Human Resources. Director of the Education and Human Resources. The INS is Immigration National Services. The IT Information Technology, JTPA, Joint Training Partnership Act. The NSF is National Sciences Foundation. The OVAE is Office of Vocational Education. PA Technical Administration Workforce Investment WIA. Following with its letter September 20th, 2002, the Honorable James Barcia, ranking minority member of the Subcommittee of the Environmental Technology Standards, the Committee on Services of the House of Representatives, Honorable Line Rivers of the House of Representatives, and represented in recent years the U.S. employers have complied with the shortages work of the higher levels of skills and information technology sciences, other finance defined workers of the skills employers that offer to return the foreign workers who are entered the U.S. United States of the HB1 visit. To find workers with these skills, employers often turn to foreign workers who are entitled United States HB1 visas to work specifically occupation. Despite the recent economic downturn, the employer report they continue the need of higher skilled workers. Congress passed the Workforce Investment Act of 1998 to create the system connecting the employment, education, training services to better with match the workers the labor market needed. In 1998, the Congress passed the legislation raising the limit to the number of high skilled working entered United States, imposing the $500 fee on the employers, which was later raised to $1,000 for each foreign worker for whom they applied. Um, Most of the money collected has been spent on training to improve the skills of the use of the worker. 55% of the funds provided the Department of Labor on technical skill grants to increase the supply of the skilled workers in the occupation identifying needs of the workers. Labor awards of skills. The grant of local enforcement investment boards was created by the Workforce Investment Act. Uh, to establish local workforce development policies, therefore linking the skill grant program to the workforce system. The boards use funds to provide the training employed, unemployed. The National Science Foundation (NSF) receives 25% of the funds to distribute a scholarship grants. To post-secondary schools that distribute the funds as scholarship for the lowest-income computer science, engineering, mathematics degrees. As July 1st, 2002, $197 million has been awarded through the skill grant. Through as May 1st, 2002, about $72 million has been awarded through the scholarship grant. Because of your interest in the United States is meeting the employer's demand of the high skilled workers, you're asked about the scholarship grant programs. How will they relate to other high skilled worker development practices? Specifically, will you address the high how the skill grant scholarship grant programs are administered to raise the skill level of the American workers. Whether the skill grant and scholarship training is based on the workforce needs specific job the HB1 visa holder fills, particularly information technology industries, to what the extent these programs are coordinated with the other workforce development programs at local national level to meet the high skill and training needs. In response to your question, we surveyed 43 recipients of the skill grant. Was distributed in 2000, visited 12 of the grantees, interviewed with the local workforce investment board staff. As most grantees, they training that provided the employees the participation, visited 6 colleges. They received scholarship grants, analyzed with the participation outcomes of the scholarship grant, discussed these programs other than high skill training of the official Department of Labor, Commerce, and the NSF. National Science Foundation, Immigration National Services, the INS, the industry representatives. Our work was conducted in accordance with the generally accepted government auditing standards between October 2001 and July 2002. See Appendix 1 for the full discussion of our scope and methodology. It results in the briefing. The grantees operating the skill grant programs using flexibility allowed by the labor to administrate the training. The variety of the service delivery operations include to individuals whose skills need to be upgraded, whereas National Science Foundation Scholarship Grant provides a scholarship to low-income students for college degree programs. The skill grant provides the flexibility to meet local workforce needs for the selection of the partners who implement the program. The length of the setting of the training of the participation served 3/4 of the participation are employed with the workers upgrading their skills, but their employers approved by the training information. Participation training outcomes is limited to because of the labor is not collected consistent with the data. Individual programs granting report that over 16,000 participations enrolled in the training through the January 3rd, 2006. About half of the completed trainings grantees provided only limited data on outcomes. Some participants counted in more than one outcomes. However, the data provided the data in the indication of however the participation benefited the training. The grantees stated the participation that they could report on about 1,800 were placed in new upgraded jobs, and 1,600 increased their wages and salaries. 2,600 attend skills certification, 1,900 attained industrial recognized skills standards. Grantees who could report on the participation characteristics indicated 43% of are female and 20% are African American, 7% are Asian, 6% are Hispanic, and half had 2 years of higher post-secondary degree. Although grantees have used the skill granting program to create initiative programs, build ties, and new partnerships may have not been planned for the alternative funding beyond the program 2-year limited. It may be unable to offer their program for the future. And scholarship grant program, the post-secondary use of the fund is structured academic setting to attract and retain low-income students in computer sciences, engineering, mathematics degrees, and programs also. Almost 8,000 students have received scholarships to May 1st, 2002. The fully student-eligible student scholarship grant has been proven to challenge the same as schools that struggled to fill open slots. However, the National Science Funding officials believe that their changes least strict standards for financial eligibility have been made easier to recruit students. Training offered by the skill grant programs is based on the workforce needs, although the sometimes lower skilled jobs, those filled by the HB1 visa holders, are the scholarship scholarship program training is based on the national workforce needs of the type of the jobs of many HBO and visa holder fields. Skill grant training is designed of the grants to address the of the shortage of local workforce, providing technical skill training, and the shortage of local workforce, providing technical skill training for both employed and unemployed workers. Almost all 43 grantees founded in 2000 provided by the IT relating aided training, other training provided including healthcare, telecommunications, engineering, manufacturing through the process of designing and implementation, skill granting, training. The new partnership were formed, thereby increasing the workforce investment board's knowledge of the local workforce needs. Establishing these programs, grantees sought the information on the local employers of the HB1 visa workers on the workforce shortages as identified in the labor market data through the discussion of the employers. Its solicitation for the grant application of labor has provided the guidelines confusing as to the skill level of the training of the guarantees provided the INS. That's some kind of integrated national service. It characterizes the occupation from the training with the provided identified with about 40% of the occupations were able to able to qualify for the HB1 visa level occupation. The scholarship provided by International preparing students for their careers in the fields and workforce shortages nationally, focusing on efforts attracting and keeping students into those fields. Additionally, it educates students for the high school jobs comparable with the job fields of the HB1 visa holders. While federally initiated initiatives are not coordinated with strategic addressing high needs for the national level, local skill grant programs increase the coordination of the labor provided assistance to enhance the efforts. Several funding agencies, labor, the National Science Foundation, the Commerce and others have independent programs to address the need high school workers. However, the coordination across the agencies is limited, and while the Labor's Employment Training Agency has begun to make a strategic approach to identifying such skill shortfalls in industries such as healthcare and IT, efforts coordinating these high-skilled initiatives with ETA as are also limited. At the same time, local workforce and program officials said that the major benefit of the skill grant program was in contribution to advance the goals of the workforce industry as building relationships with the employers, the partners, surveying, the respondent reporting, working one of the third more employers with the high school needs is receiving with the HB1 grants. Despite the progress, the local skill grant represents face challenges obtaining the information companies need with the HB1 workers would have liked assistance in marketing the program to the employer. Further, the National Science Foundation provided few opportunities for the grantees to share information about learning from each other. We included recommendations of the Secretary of Labor and the Director of the National Science Foundation to improve the HB1 skill grants to the scholarship program, respectively. We also recommended the Secretary of Labor proactively develop a more comprehensive approach to addressing high-skilled worker force needed across the country. In commenting on the draft of this report, Labor and the National Science Foundation generally agreed that without their findings recommendations, although the Labor believes its recently new reporting requirements will be provided the information needed to monitor the progress, evaluate the program, and the Commerce raised no objections to recommendations, but in concerns about the job designation suggestions, we should have gathered information of the most recent grants awarded in December 2001 and during 2002. However, because the grants were new, the information generally was not available regarding participation characteristics or program operations. Background. In recent years, Congress passed legislation that modified the visa program for the foreign workers who enter the country the HB1 visas. Working in specialty occupation changes had including expanding the limitation of the number of the workers who may be approved for the visa from 65 to 195,000, providing labor with additional enforcement authority, establishing employer to fee the funding training of the American workers. The American Competitiveness Work Enforcement Improvement Act of 1998 authorized programs to provide technical skills training scholarships for low-income post-secondary students pursuing high technology fields and studies. To fund these programs, it is assessed at $500 fee of the employer. To fund these programs, it is assessed at a $500 fee on the employers for each of the person for whom they submitted an application. from the HB1 visas. In 2002, the HB1 application fee for the employers was raised to $1,000. Also, the American Competitiveness in the 21st Century Act of Public Law 106 clarified some of the guidelines administering the skill grant program, including the Commerce's consultant with the skills of the grant distribution process. The fee for the employers to apply for the HB1 visa, which funds the skill grants and the scholarship grants, expires on September 30th, 2003. Currently, 55% of the fees are collected, distributed to labor to skill grant for skill grants. 22% are distributed to National Science Foundation for the scholarship grant. The remaining 23% of the funds is used for other activities. 2003 labor budget proposed redirecting the grant funding being in fiscal year of 2003, reducing the backlog of the applications submitted on the behalf of the foreign workers for permanent residency. So basically, to fund these programs, it assessed that $500 on the employers for each of the person from who they submitted an application of the HB1 visas, which is now $1,000. In 1998, Congress also passed the Workforce Improvement Act, which replaced the Job Training Partnership Act, introducing the various reforms of the coordinated delivery of the federal employment training services. Workforce Investment Act seeks to create a workforce investment system that connects the employment education training services to better match workers' labor market needs, and workforce investment specifies separating funds and service sources for each of the acts of the main client groups: adults, dislocated workers, and youth. The American Competitiveness Work Improvement Act of 1998 linked the HB1 skills grants to federally funded employment training and services administered by the labor, requiring the grants to be awarded private industrial councils, workforce investment boards, or regional consortia of these boards. Labor is responsible administrating and overseeing the HB1 grant program at the national level, which includes compiling and collecting reports, maintaining the HB1 skill grants, the website, providing the technical assistance. Labor regional offices assigning one staff to each of the grantee, which the regions to serve as a front line for the contact of the monitoring the grantees. Though it is official that the Office of Policy and Research Labor is awarded 43 skills grant totaling about $96 million, distributed in three separate rounds of February 2001, July 2000, October 2000. Additional 24 grants, total about $67 million, were dispersed as a rolling award between December 2001 and the Workforce and Group Investment Program. And sort of with these received the skill grants for application of a local worker enforcement investment may indicate that the project is consistent with and will be coordinated with the region workforce investment efforts. The 2000 law allotted that 25% of the skill grants to the business to the related consortia. The first round was awarded the May 2002 14 grants totaling about $34 million. The Labor Conveniency Panel, as it reviewed the application recommendation grantees for the selection of the basis of specific criteria, such as targeted population, service delivery, and ability to meet labor markets needs. Grantees have been required to submit the quarterly financial report, a quarterly narrative progress report, while Labor did not require standard formats of narrative progress reporters with the current ending of the September 30th, 2002. Some grantees under the template developed a Labor that included numbers of the following individually continuing to the served from any quarter individual served, and during the quarter individual served and beginning the project, individuals newly enrolled, individuals who excited without completion. Labor limited amount of the money grants could spend at the administrative cost of 10% of the funding, except the grant period under about 2 years. Although some grantees have received 1 year extensions and no additional cost, the grantees required to obtain the matching funds for the other parties, the amount have been required to obtain the range from 25 to 50% of the grant, depending on the round of which they receive the grant. Business consortia grants are required to obtain matching funds of 100% of the grant that they received. The 2000 law provides a specific guidance about the types of training should be provided with the skill grant, which, absence of the 1998 law, is said that the training is not limited to skills that can demonstrate within 4-year undergraduate degree, but should include the preparation of the work of the broad range of the position of a long career ladder. It also required that at least 80% of the grants awarded with the program projects the training employed unemployed workers in skill high technology, information technology, biotechnology. 1998 law did not elaborate on the nature of the training authorized, did not mention any other particular occupations. The National Science Foundation provides a scholarship grants and it grants to schools that grant associate's, baccalaureate, graduate degrees. The schools are selected by the panel to review the application of the post-secondary schools. Students must major in the computer science, engineering, math, and must enroll in the class full-time demonstrated financial assistant. Financial need most demonstrate the academic potential at ability. The initial only steps who are eligible for Pell Grants could be eligible for the scholarship, but the National Science Foundation later relaxed the requirements, including the student who are eligible for any of the federal financial. Each of the student receives up to each student receives up to $30,125 per year for up to 4 years. Um, as is May 2002, 277 schools obtained the grants ranging from $24,750 to $77,760,302 in series of 3 rounds of the grant, was awarding to the total of $72 million. The schools may be asked to additional 5% of the total requested school scholarship amount of the administrative cost increase in the original 2% of the first set granted awards. Schools may also ask for additional 5% of the total requested scholarship amount for the student-supported services. The Skill Grant Officers Training for the Flexibility Service Delivery of the Scholarship Grant Office of the Educational Degree Program. Skill Grants of the grantee program to offer the training through the variety of the skill service delivery operation options to people whose skilled and need to upgrade the scholarship grantees of the scholarship program that offer traditional degree programs, mathematics, computer science, and engineering to low-income students, while the Skill Grant Program requires that the create, participate, partners, and implement the program nature of the work partnership and flexibility of the grant training, which can be used in the preparation of the work service for the range of occupation can be offered to employed, unemployed individual variety of settings. However, the scholarship granting program, the post-secondary school receiving the grants of providing scholarship training under the graduate post-secondary education with the goal of attracting and retaining low-income students, computer science, engineering, mathematics degrees. Some schools have in difficulty funding the students eligible for the school of the grantee programs to fill available slots. The National Science Foundation official, however, believe as their change to the less strict standards of the financial eligibility has made it easier to recruit the students. Skills and grantees for the variety of partnerships the trained, employed, unemployed individuals but face challenges of sustaining the programs. In implementing the skill grant programs, the grantees of the participation meet the local workforce needs of the training, diverse participation. However, many of the grantees plan for alternative funding, sustain the grant training program beyond the 2 year of the time allowed for the grantee. The skill grantee programs requires the grant to create the partnership local entities to implement the program. Yet the nature of the partnership, the flexibility, data, the participation are limited. However, because the labor does not require the grantees to collect consistent participation outcome information. Although many grantees have used the skill grant program to create initiative programs to build ties with the new partnerships, many have not planned for the alternative funding beyond the end of the grant period, may unable to offer the program in the future. A variety of service and delivery skill grantees taking advantage of the skill grant program's flexibility have formed partnerships with the local entities, have used a variety of initiative services delivery to options for the first 3 rounds in the skill grantees awarded. Workforce investment private boards and private industry councils were required to submit the grant proposal to the labor. However, the various partnerships initiated implemented the skill granting training to be best local workforce needs. Other partners may include employers, unions, for-profit, non-profit training institutions, community college, public-private, four-year college, other organizations such as business, trade, or industrial associations, communities, faith-based organizations. The following sites of the visit exemplify the verifying the partner configuration services delivery options. At several sites in the various stages of the grantee implemented its skill grant using local government and nonprofit community-based organization where also administrating the Workforce Investment Act programs. The skill grant funds are awarded to either the employers to training the current workforce, individual upgraded their skill set. For example, one offered business grants up to $50,000 train if they train their employees in information technology, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, precision manufacturing. Another offered funding is the IT training of targeted employee workers as dislocated, laid off workers, low income people, high school students. The local board diversified the ability of the training through the standard advisory channels such as flyers, newspapers, and one of the stop centers. The training provided one-stop centers. The training providers were chosen by the employer or the individual participation in the program. At the site of the California major healthcare provided by the thousands of employees partnered with the local board of the union training that provided the address is specifically shorted within its company. Similarly, at the site of the Massachusetts unions, the two manufacturing plants partnered local board training providers with employers for the grants and training of it was available for the primary company employees. In arrangement, the local workforce were not heavily involved with the operation training program that did not grant the local workforce system. The employers of the union implemented skill grants for region covered with the employers instead of limiting participation only to the workers that are served by the board. At the site of D.C., the college initiated and implemented the skill grant, while the local board advisory college established networks to other partners. The college sought out other employers who went under the underemployment work to receive the IT training. It also marketed training directly to the unemployed individuals. All training occurred at the college administration. The grant. At one site in the California, the local board partnered with the four training providers to the other different ITT curriculums to both employed individuals, dislocated workers. The training partnership of the board were responsible for recruiting partnership for the program. The skill grant training program verified on length, type, and provided different approaches to taking the responded to employers training. The training programs at the site of the visit were as short as one-day courses on the new software taught through a for-profit training provider. As long as 2 years college curriculum is technical college, a grantee of flexible to provide different training at the different sites. For example, one grantee ran 4 different IT training programs, and in each with the time frame one on the weekends for 9 months at the community college, one in the summer-long program with the 1 weekdays at the community college, one full-time at the 10 months. The nonprofit training provider, one full area schedule offers the major state university continuing education. Depending on the partner service delivery options of the skill grant training, that can take a variety of locations, such as an on-site company or the training facility at one skill grant location. The local community college offered math, electronics, other courses, workplace. As after the close of the workday, employees could earn an associate's degree in computers, telecommunications technology at the convenient location while upgrading their skills for their employer. The skill grant program flexibility allows the grantee to adjust the content with the training of the response to the change in local labor market demands. The grant administrates on the one side providing the training of both the healthcare IT increased number of the healthcare training of the participation decreased in the number of the IT training participation response changing the employer demand for the workers. Similarly, a local board of the partnered within 2 large employers to train current workers and amended their grant to include the training of the dislocated workers on the employer for the had major layoff. Participation who had been laid off could continue in the training program. Despite the flexibility of the skill grant, the program made of the skill grantees experience changes during the start of the up phase of the grant. On average, grantees take up about 4 months at the time the grantees awarded until the program's operational began. Serving the individuals for the 2 forming new partnerships. The employer training that provided took longer than they anticipated. For other economic downturn that began in 2001, altered the ability to participate for the fewer grantees. The obstacle delayed for the program startup 9 months longer. As a result, several grantees asked for a non-cost assistance of up to 1 year beyond the original 2-year grant period. Between December 2001 and July 2002, the labor has been awarded additional 38 grants, including 14 awards about under the 25% allotted reserved for the business-related consortia. The base of the information summaries of the funded projects and some of the regional consortia are led to the large nationwide corporations such as MetLife Incorporated, General Motors Corporation, while other programs are led by the community colleges. In one case, the organization working to enhance the opportunities for the Latino population. Many of the projects of the geographical areas, larger the areas served through Signal Workforce Board. For example, project led by the national employer will serve participation in 5 states: Alabama, Indiana, Michigan, New York, and Ohio. Other projects will serve participation in a broad area of one state or a few selected major metropolitan areas around the country. Diversity grant participation through data as are limited and few with rounds of the skill grant award. The training program served the range of the participation and part of the because of the flexibility afforded to the skill grant program. The skill grant programs were not required to select the participation on the basis of eligibility factors such as age, income, and employment status of the individual. However, the solicitation for the grantees and the large encountered grant applications to reach the unrepresented groups of such as minorities, women's, and individual disabilities. Grantees targeted the various combinations of the employed, the dislocated, unemployed individuals, specific populations such as youth, but disabled public assistance recipients, for example, as to one side of the grantee targeted two groups: the individual who were employed and under the grant, under warranted the upgraded IT skills gained, the new skill set unemployed individuals who are seeking a computer-related job. Another set of the grantees skilled grantee training of the high school student as an IT program at the vocational high school, as also trained employed dislocated low-income adults using training providers. The data on the participation characteristics are limited because the labor did not require the standard data of the individual participation to be collected and reported until the quarter of July 1st through the September 30th, 2002. The grantees were not required to report on the standard data elements. For the grantees were not for the quarter of the labor regarding the grantees submitted in standard information on the status participation training, certain outcomes such as new job placement and new number of the wage increases individual received as a result of the HB1 training. However, the new requirements still did not require the specific demographic data of the individual participation information on specific levels of training provided. Because the data collection varies across the sites, the response to our survey questions about the participation characteristics vary as well. As also, grantees provided information on the number of the training participation in the program, reporting that a total of 16,590 individuals were enrolled training between March 1st, 2000 and January 31st, 2002. Grantees formed the first three rounds of the collected participation employment data. 39 of the 43 grantees reported that approximately three-fourths of the skill grant participations are employed with the workers upgrading the skills. In addition, with data from over survey show the skill grant is reaching the wide range of the ages for the focusing more heavily on the ages of 23 to 39 as shown in Figure 1. Figure 1 is an age participation. 6% are the age of 55 or older, 6% was age 21 or older, and age 40 through 54 was 33%, and age 29 to 39 was 22 to 39 failed out 55% of the based on 6,398 participations, or 30% of the participations in 3 rounds of the skills grant training program. Because many grants chose to target employed individuals who want the upgrade skills careers, the participation often in education beyond the high school, information, educational background, participation first 3 rounds of grants reveals the most participation having some college education, many at least bachelor's degree. In one case, the health care training program requires the participation registered nurse before receiving training as a nurse specialist in the operating room or critical care. Noted based on 6,645 participation, 40% of the participation first 3 rounds of the skill grant training program. The GAU data of the HP1 skill grant survey. The grant reported that almost 5,000 participations were members of the underrepresented group. Underrepresented groups can include women, minorities, persons with disability, old workers. Information gathered the grantees collecting gender, race, and ethnicity indicates the greater percentage of women, African Americans, in training of the IT occupations of this program are working for the IT occupation. National grantees indicated in the 40% of the skill grant that participation in IT training were female as compared to 20% of the computer scientist system analysis computer programs of the U.S. workforce in 2001. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistic data, further higher portions of the African Americans and about an equal portion of the Hispanics were trained than were percent in those of the key occupations as shown in Figure 3. You have your women, they've stacked up at 48% of the skill grant for the training of the IT, with 27% is both in computer sciences and in computer programming, and while 32% were African American, and 6% were participation of the ITs, and they had 96 in computer scientists and system analysis computer programmers, is in also 4 and 5 in the Hispanics. objectives. In addition, with the participation of the demographic, some grantees collected outcome data. Those that the data limited not being standardized, generous such data is not collected under the participation ended their training. And is in January 31st, 2002, the grantees reported 7,646 have completed the entire training program. Most of the remaining participation were still training, and the rest were either waiting or the training had started at the time of the survey had left or dropped. Out of the programs, the pro-based grantees did not allow the outcome data such as certification obtained with the wages increased. The outcome data is not completed, but the data will collected and identify whether each participation achieved one or more of the following outcomes reported. The outcomes cannot be compared with the number of the participation completed with the training limited. The outcomes reported indicated with the training programs achieved with the grantees programs. 1,696 were placed in the new upgraded positions. 1,571 participation increased with wage salaries. 2,582 participated in skill certification as Microsoft certified system engineers, and 1,870 participation attended the industrial recognized skill standards. The grantees reported a very low number of the participation receiving 2 of the 4-year college degrees, which may be due to the 2-year full time frame of the skill grant program. The 6% of the waiting of the training to start, 8% left or dropped out, 36 still training, and is 49% completed the training. Because of the program flexibilities, grantees can choose to measure the success of the outcomes relevant to their service delivery option. For example, the grantee targeting unemployed individuals can measure up the job placement. The grantee targeting employed individuals can be wage gains, job retention outcome measured, including the student's employer satisfaction, student continuation in school, job retention, job placement, wage change, upgraded positions. On only one of the 43 grants planning the measure, they reduce the reliance of the HB1 working as an outcome. Employers and employees are interviewed reporting the training valuable, and because it is contributed to employees' loyalty to the company may be provided with a service with the company that we otherwise may outsource. For example, one skill grant location employs a special nonprofit organization learned how to upgrade the company's website by gaining the skills of the existing and the staff of the company becoming the competitive and saved money. Even though grantees were interested in tracking outcomes of the participation have intended to do so, they encountered a number of challenges as the program largely based on the needs of employers. For the purpose of the training was often upgraded the worker skill, which is not necessarily connected to each of the measured outcomes. For example, training helped the registered nurses become an operating room specialist, helps an employee for the IT firm upgraded his or her skills to keep a current technology may not be accompanied with a wage gain or promotion. A couple of grantees were visited said that the training helped the employees avoid being laid off with the recent dip in the economy. Additional skills and grantees said that they have difficult times collecting the data and providing industrial employers who were reluctant to give personal information such as wages on their employees. Future funding of the Sustaining Skill Grant Program is uncertain. Although grantees were required to outline the plan of the application for the sustaining of the programs beyond the grant period, some skills grantees were in the last year of the funding of that and have not identified the definition of the future funding sources. During our site visit, the grantee said of the HB1 grant that provided the funding to initiate the program. For example, one grantee said that they gave their program for the shot in the arm if needed to start anew for the initiative training program. Some grantees hoped that the continuation of the program would be easier once their program was established. In either survey responses, grantees identified with a wide variety of the funding and sources expected to use in sustaining the training established under the skill levels. The most common source of the funding were either federal programs, the Workforce Improvement Act of the Adult Dislocated Workers, the Youth Program, or HB1 employers under the Tuition Assistance Readmission. Tuition assistance readmission is counted up for 27 of the HB1 employers is also 20, and the foundation 13, county funds 8, city funds 8, state funds 19, other federal programs and grants 23, workforce and set aside funds 5, workforce program funds 22. However, these several grants were visited. We did not definite plans to alter funding beyond the two programs. The 2-year program may be unable to offer the programs in the future. For example, one program had the training entered IT areas has been to plan to seek the funding of the employers who were either graduates of the training program with the downturn of the IT industry. Employers were not accepted who want the contribution as readily as some grantees were planning to apply for another HB1 skill grant, continuing their programs, but where they were approved was not known. And recipient grant solicitation laborers also grantees to apply to the continuing of the program, but also required at least some of the expansion of the grantee programs. Previously, skill grant recipients were encouraged to apply for another HB1 grants to provide a different approach for the scope of skill training, including options to expand the existing training of the program. Labor did not award the one grantee the first round of the awards, the HB1 granting, and the fourth round of the expanding the initial ATI IT program. The granting administrative at the site of the commented that the funding could not only improve the training, not the infrastructure was in place. The scholarship grant service low-income students with computer science, engineering degree, and mathematics. The scholarship granting emphasizes the importance of attracting and retaining low-income into computer science, engineering, and mathematics degree programs. Primarily low, providing the tuition funds and supplemental income and assisting with living expenses as May as first as 2002, 7,007 and 706 has been received the scholarship and scholarship through this program. The scholarship program with coordinators has cited that revisited typical students who meet the low-income requirement of the program typically have no work at least part-time and additional attending school. They, according to a National Science Foundation official, the scholarship for not tuition can be used for any expense related to the school, such as housing, transportation, childcare. So, schools officials said that the students could use use the time that they would work on it as a job on the focus on the schoolwork. Once the student said that the scholarship is helping to finish the program the faster because of the required to be a full-time student to receive the scholarship. More of the students thought the scholarship attracted them to the fields of student that were debating the major to chose. One of the students told that even they should be excelled in the math at high school, should only consider becoming a math major after she had learned about the scholarship opportunities. On the basis of the data they collected in the National Science Foundation, the students received the scholarship program, attracting the higher proportion of the women and the minorities have been pursued the degrees in the computer science, engineering, mathematics as a whole. As shown in the figure 6 of the scholarship recipients of the mathematics as whole, shown in the figure 6 of the scholarship recipients include a greater portion of the women minorities that are included among the computer science, engineering, mathematics degree awards and proximity of 37% of the students of the scholarship program are the women of compared with the 24% of all students computer and the information science, engineering, and related technology mathematics bachelor degrees in 1999 and 2000. According to the Department of Education Statistics, further the percentage of the minorities the students of the program was higher than percentage of the minorities of students earning comparable bachelor's degree nationally. So. If your U.S. students awarded related degrees in the gray, and your black and your white scholarship program students is the majority were white, or 73%, while the woman was 24%. The African American served as 9, and the Asian and Pacific Islander 13, as in Hispanic 6, and Alaskan American 1, and no multiple ethnicities is 5 scholarship students. That is the gray. During our visit, we found that while the scholarship program is servicing low-income standards, some of the schools were having trouble filling out their scholarship slots. The National Science Foundation program official agreed that some of the smaller scholarships were having trouble filling the spots, but one of the complaint heard of the full school representatives responsible for the program was restrictive requirement for the students eligible for the Pell Grant to receive the awarded effective January 2009. National Science Foundation relaxed the criteria to require students at federal financial and eligible, less restrictive criteria for the National Science Foundation program official estimates with a whole. While the enrollments appeared to the increase in science of the criteria was relaxed, the effect of the change will not be known either to another year. However, he believes the challenge has been made easier to recruit students more. Moreover, since the start of the program, the school has begun other initiatives to publicize the program to find more of the students that meet the eligible requirements, which may help to increase the enrollments of the scholarship program. Skills and grants and scholarships grants designed to meet the workforce need through skill levels for which they can train varies. The skill training is based on a local workforce needed to address the occupations below the bachelor's degree level required of the HB1 visas, whether the scholarship program training is on the basis of the national workforce needs the job that meet the HB1 visas holders fills. The scholarship grant is designed to practice the addressing skill shortages of the local workforce. However, the program permitted by the law do not allow the participation for the specific kind of the job jobs that held in the HB1 visa holders. The scholarship program also focuses its effort on attracting, keeping in students in specific fields with national workforce shortages. Skill grant programs training based on local workforce need. As established by the law, the skill grants were intended to provide the technical skill training, but the applicable acceptable areas of the training were not prescribed to labor. As in a solicitation of the granting application state for the funded were intended for the skill training of the high school occupation that are demanded by the U.S. business and the guidance for the state of the overall goal of the HB1 finance training to raise the skill of American workers so that they could be highly skilled job presently being filled in temporarily by HB1 workers. The labor also stated that one key indication for the occupation is demanded that occupation is demanded the number of the employer application of the HB1 foreign workers and noted that the two industries appeared to generate the most current HB1 demand: IT, healthcare. The solicitation included appendix to specific applications, job openings where certified applications at the top, two occupations before the far the listed with the occupation system analysis program and IT occupation therapist of the healthcare occupation. However, the many applications were never filled with the foreign workers. The integration national something data actual workers who eventually obtain visas indicated a different mix. The largest category of the computer-related occupations, while the medicine and health occupations represented a much smaller portion of the visa appropriated with this show tables. Computer-related, architectural, engineering, administrative specialization, education managers and officials, and otherwise elsewhere, medicine and life sciences, social sciences, mathematics and physical sciences, professional, technical, and managerial programs at 1.7%. Most of the skill grant programs funded in the first three rounds of the grants distributed in 2000 were provided with the training of the IT occupations. Several programs trained in the variety of the areas provided the 43 grants for the first three rounds of the grants, 35 providing the training of the IT. 19 of these trained exclusive ITs. The number of the grantees were offered the training in specific categories and shown figure 7. This is a number of the grantees were offered training in the various categories: accounting, teaching, and engineering, manufacturing, telecommunications, health, and IT. Scoring very low is IT and teaching at 1%, engineering at 11%, telecommunications at 10%, health at 10%, and IT is at 35%. All application skill grants planning of the program that use the information and labor supplied with the solicitation other about the occupation market demanded supplemented additional information with local labor and the market needs. Over the 43 grants selected in the first 3 months, 33 obtained the HB1 visa data for their area. The grant area to help identify the shortage areas of the area being filled with the foreign workers. Only for 23 were successful to during our site visits, some grantees followed up with the employers identifying having HB1 visa workforce, discussed their workforce needs. They survived applications using other approaches to identify the local workforce needs. The 42 reported using states and regional labor work information. 40 reported issuing from employers from the hiring demands. 19 reported newspaper wants ad. 27 reported at least one of the approach, including working industry groups using other studies of local skill gaps, analyzing posting, internet job sites, employer focus groups, and national studies. The grantees were visited, commented the process allocated the workforce investment board to better understand the industries, employers, and employer hire skilled workers with whom they had not previously strong relationships. One grantee official noted that the grant had been useful helping an organization looking at the broader labor workforce needs and focusing on emerging trends such as an anticipated shortage of nurses due to the retirement, and others spoke on the process helps to better understand the telecommunication, information technology, information site, overall guidance. Grantees noted that the grantee given the opportunity to provide the training for the help demand employers to meet employers' needs. Skill training of the several occupation areas at a range of skill levels. Although skill level HB1 occupations generally required to be at the bachelor level degree, law governing the skill grants does not require the grants through funded with the fees that HB1 workers employers to train at the same level. The goal of the skill grant program was to provide the technical skill training for the workers, both those who were employed as well as those who were unemployed. The American Competitive Workforce Improvement Act that established the program does not refer to the particular occupations, does not elaborate on the nature of the training, authorized the American Competitiveness of the Training for 21st Century Act of 2000 did provide the most specific direction, stating that there's training not limited to skill compensation of the 4-year undergraduate degree, but shall include preparation workforce range of the position of a career ladder. Unlike some other fields, the occupation of the IT fields are difficult to classify as level of the education degree that require the Bureau of Labor Statistic occupational output look at had been noted that some IT workers have degree computer science, mathematics, information system, otherwise taking special courses in the computer program and supplemented that their student in the fields of such as accounting, other business areas, National Workforce Center of Emerging Technologies identified the IT skill cluster titles of education necessary for occupation federal several of the occupations and workers. Can prepare academically with the range of training types from 1-year certificate program for the 4-year degree program. Labor with the issuing guidance of the solicitation of the grant application, various rounds providing the confusing language describing the level of the training that was appropriate. The solicitation stated the primary target served and should workers be trained and put placed directly in the high skill HB1 visa occupations. However, the solicitation also includes the other information allowed with the training for the lower position. For example, the first round solicitation should also say grantees should receive the high and low skilled workers trained for workers to train the HB1 occupation related career paths. However, there's some grantees commented that raising lower skilled workers to a bachelor level degree in the 2-year granted period could be difficult. Two most recent solicitations for the application mirrored the change of the 2000 law of the state. The technical skills training is not limited to skills demonstrated with a 4-year school degree, or should prepare the workers of the broad range position along with the career ladder. Although the labor solicitation were unclear as the level of training was acceptable, according to the labor officials, they avoided being prescriptive allowances, guarantees, flexible, encouraging innovation. And the additional labor stated that because of the new program, it was difficult to determine whether the classification was needed until the grantees began to ask similar questions. Labor does not post some questions answering about the HB1 skill granted the program for the two conferences for participation. For two conference potential grantees application, HB1 technical skills training grant website. A labor official also told us labor is developing a list of commonly asked general grantee questions and answer questions. The question which should be posted in the near future. The 43 grants from the first 3 rounds provided training for the range of level occupations of the INS education divisions. When asked to assess whether the occupations are equivalent to skill levels needed for the HB1 positions, that many of them could accept the HB1 visas. HB1's position, depending on the details of the job description, the agency found that 25% and 38% of the 66 occupation training provided the qualifying for the HB1 occupation, 30 to 45% generally not qualifying. Remaining 11 occupations were too vague to characterize either way. See that apply to the for the full list of occupations which skilled the grant programs trained in the INS assessment of how the occupation compared with the HB1 occupations. The fewer employer told us that in some cases the specific skills that needed to comply could be obtained for the HB1 worker and could be obtained with the training to present employees with already knowledge of process specific higher level education. For example, small nonprofit for interviewed outside candidates, including HB1 worker for the networking position, decided that the skill grant found to upgrade the employee skill set instead. Similar to the general manager of the manufacturing plant said, the electronic technicians were being upgraded to the junior engineers would be able to testing the previously way was the part of the responsibility for senior engineers, some who were HB1 workers. Scholarship grants and targeted to meet the national workforce needed the training at the high skilled levels. A student receiving the scholarship granted enrolled in the educational areas that prepared the students for the occupation frequently filled in the HB1 visas. Holders since indicated the national workforce needed the law establishing the program stated that the scholarship recipient must use the scholarship to enroll in continuing enrollment in the school in order to pursue an associate's undergraduate graduate level degree in computer science, engineering, mathematics. Although students are pursuing a variety of specific course programs such as information robotics, actual science, their areas of study can be classified into broad categories as shown in Figure 8 in the INS data on the HB1 visa workers, indicating that these majors were provided to sustaining the training of the proposition of these foreign workers often fill. As shown in Table 1 of the data on the HB1 visa workers approved of being worked during the fiscal year of 2001, with reflecting the national workforce needs indicating that 58% of them were computer-related occupations. Scholarship program students major categories: computer science, engineering, no information, 10% mathematics, and combination of others. Training paid for and then a part of the scholarship grant for the occupation with similar the complexity for those held in the HB1 visa holders were having bachelor's degree equivalent experience. Some of the students receiving scholarships attending two-year schools were other 4 years undergraduate graduate programs. About a quarter of school of the program, the two-year schools. Some of the two-year programs transferred the four-year degrees. For example, one program we visited in two-year college was specifically preparing students to transfer to nearby four-year public university. The process was simplified to the transfer of the agreements of that program that Versa had arranged. National effects on not to coordinate with strategically addressed high school needs that local coordination shows promise. While federal programs initiatives are not coordinated with strategically address the national need of the high skill workers, local skill grant programs are more coordinated with the labor has provided with the limited assistance to enhance the local efforts of the multiple federal agencies and offices with the agencies involved with the efforts that they address the highly skilled workers. Although coordination is limited at the same time, the workforce officials such as a result implementing these skills, they may be increasing the coordination of the partners and employers. Yet the skill grantees representing said they would have a link more assistant for the labor obtaining the information on the companies needed for HB1 workers developing a national strategy to market the program's labor or National Science Foundation provided a few opportunities for grantees to share information learning for each other. National efforts to address high school needs for workers, and although coordinated, is limited. Multi-federal agencies, officers, and agencies involved in efforts to address the shortage of the high school workers attracted the students of the high technology fields. Yes, the efforts not focused broadly, coordinating across agencies to address national high school workforce needed strategic way. With the labor, many of these are discretionary grant programs operated by the ETA. Employment Training Agency, through the Office of the Limited or Coordination, the ETA Office of the Policy, the Research oversees the HB1 Skill Grant Program. ETA Office of the Adult Services oversees the service. Several discretionary grant programs. They address the association. They address the Employer Skill Shortages Grant Information Technology Association, American, the IT companies, the Workforce Investment Board, the local communities, ETA Office, Apprenticeship Training Employer Labor Services Officers, the grant expanding apprenticeship of the IT occupational in-service. In addition, with the HB1 grant, HB1 scholarship program, the National Science Foundation has other programs that is aimed to attracting and retaining students of the high school degrees. The Department of Commerce official technology policy with the Technology Administration Department of Education Office of Vocational Education Area Education Department of Health and Human Services and Resource Services Administration. Also, initiative programs of research on address the high school needs and shortages. A list of some key initiatives that have been a component addressing for the need of high skilled workers and shown in Appendix 6. Lack of coordination between federal agencies was evidenced in two grant programs funded by the HB1 fees. Lack of coordination of the federal agencies was evidenced within the two grant programs funded by the HB1 fees. The Labor Administrative Skill Grants and the National Science Foundation Administrative Scholarship Grants have led to little coordination across agencies to address broader needs. According to the National Science Foundation, while the program is such as scholarship grants are complementary to the labor workforce grant programs, the National Science Foundation primary links to the workforce system has been the Department of Education. At a local level, some skill grant representatives did not know about the scholarship grants. Some of the scholars of the scholarship grants did not know about the skill grants. Yes, the local grants represented both the program interested in learning more than each other and appeared that if they were working in some of the, where they could be benefited in more coordination. For example, one university official overseeing the scholarship program mentioned that she would inform that the school grant because of many of the requests of the training programs for the student who have degrees still need additional training for the more marketable employers. With the labor, the ETA oversees the Workforce Improvement Act. The Dislocated Worker, the youth programs, has some initiatives to address the high school workforce needs. In addition to skill grants, however, these efforts are not located together to build on lesson being earned. Between the ETA assigned the regional staff of the Office of Apprenticeship Training and Employer Labor Services as to monitor skill grants, the ETA ATELS, also a major initiative to develop apprenticeship in new and emerging industries such as IT and healthcare. According to the National ETALS, the official strong partnership between the skill grant and the program, the ETALS did not develop, which could have led to building a broader infrastructure connects to the skill grants apprenticeship efforts in high technology industries. As a labor official for the division of one of the top operations, the ETA said that the formal mechanism is not currently in the place to share the information more among grants, such as skill grants program, to the other ETA grants programs. However, these officials did say that the ETA's leadership is interested in looking at the role demonstrated the grants, such as skill grant programs, however they fit. The ETA ongoing employment training programs is an example of the type of the coordination demonstrated with the Labor Boston Regional Office conveyed series of the 3-day-long conferences that focus on the current workforce of the HB1 grantees, other than discretionary awards of the labor. In addition, with the Assistant Secretary of the ETA recently established by the business relations groups that were striving to better support the linkage of the components of the workforce system, such as apprenticeship program and the Job Corps. Labor involved in the Commerce and Skill Grant program is required by the American Competitiveness of the 21st Century Act of 2000, but these efforts were limited and not part of the comprehensive strategy. To address the high skill needs of across the agency, the Labor Consultant of Commerce developing the initial solicitation of the grant application for the skill grant. The 2000 has mandated the role of requiring the Labor Consultant of Commerce and awarding the grants, requiring the Commerce to complete the study of the public-private sector high-tech workforce training programs. Commerce staff also served as some of the skill grant application review panels. Yet, so the commentary expressed frustration in the tribe of the pertaining information labor on the skill training program. So these reported the workforce training programs at the same time the Commerce is leading several major initiatives addressing the IT employers with the independent labor workforce. Some of the federal agencies is taking steps more broadly address high skilled workforce needs, skill shortages. No agency has taken the lead in coordination across education, economic development, workforce development programs. A strategic focus on the high skill Secretary of Labor and establishing the 21st Century Workforce Initiative that includes the official 21st Century Workforce created executive order on June 20th to provide information forms of the workforce issue. However, the efforts address the broad workforce is not focused specifically high skill needs. The Secretary of Labor understands the support joint efforts to address the nation's nursing shortages within e-labor ETAs. There are some efforts to make it's a more strategical role, identifying skill shortages to a few key industries, notable healthcare, IT. Yet the efforts are to be largely to agencies targeting one industry without building on the lesson being learned across the programs. Initiative addressing high skill needs. Skill grants helped local board increase coordinated but labor provided assistance to enhance these efforts. Local Workforce Board representatives and program officials reported that the skill grants help advance key goals of the Workforce Initiative and Workforce Investment Act. Systems such as coordinating with the new partners beyond the local boundaries, building a relationship with more employers, and are linking one stop to the system. However, the way would link to more assistance from the labor, enhance the local efforts of surveying respondents reported working on 1/3 of the more employers with the high school needs since the receiving the HB1 grants. Some of the workforce officials saying that the skill grants enabled them the workforce the employers that they would not access to the Workforce Investment Act workforce system otherwise. Who also spoke, some employers would say that they had not known that the service available of the Workforce Investment Act system became before this grant. At the same time, the 10 of the grantees said that they had difficulty obtaining the data of the HB1 visa applications to identifying the employers who use HB1 workers in this area. The number of the grantees contacted the Labor INS, for State Workforce Agency, and congressional offices attempted to track down this information. With some of the grantees' information, laborers others did not use. Almost a quarter of the grantees with the workforce would like more assistance with the labor obtaining the information on the companies. The company HR1 hiring H1B workers, networking the HB1 employers. The number of the grantees suggested that it would be beneficial for the labor to develop a national strategy to market the HB1 grant program. Employers to facilitate discussion of the national employers who and HB1 workers. One of the national employers participated in the HB1 skill grant programs expressed the interest in them replicitating and experience sharing information at the national level. Almost all 40 of the grantees reported on this one stop of the cornerstone of the Workforce Investment Act and had a role in the grant. In some cases, increased visibility as a result of the grant. For many of the grants, one of the stop centers served as multiple functions. For the most common being recruiting and recruiting, referring, and participation, following the conducting, intaking, assessment, identifying job applications for the participation, matching the participation with the job opening and employers. One of the grantees that worked with the employers to upgrade the skills of the current workers said that they used the one-stop center to help backfill the lower level positions vacated aided by the employer who got the HB1 training of the move into the higher level position. One of the employer Aaron interviewed was not aware that the publicly funded workforce system before the HB1 grant expressed the interest of the using of the screening services available for the local one-stop center after learning about the service through the grant. Local workforce officials mentioned, however, these training programs help with the support of the other efforts of the Workforce Investment Act, Workforce and strength of the workforce system. For example, skills grants help the workforce investment boards think to beyond the local boundary of the regional employer territories to develop the modeled employer-driven training that can be applied to the programs such as the Funded Workforce Investment Act. A number of the grantees commented on how the HB1 grantee enhanced the capacity to work with the community college and other providers to innovation in higher skills training. At the same time, some of the grants require more technical assistance from the labor, and such as learning on more national efforts developing and defined career letters as one grantee information career letters available for the different areas, but is hard. Track down information developed and by the efforts of the National Skills Standard Board that could be used, and the information does not always make it always at the local level. A local scholarship grant and scholarship programs had to be limited to operation share information for both skill grants and scholarship grants. For the grants, the recipient that could have benefited sharing more information one another about the lessons learned of the promising participation. Yet the labor of the National Science Foundation provided a few opportunities for this type of information exchange with the labor established with the website relevant to the information of the HB1 grants conducted with an earlier study of the grants study explanatory practice of the HB1 skill grants grant invented the two national meetings of the HB1 skill grant participation. However, the grantees do not have the mechanism for ongoing information information exchange, which either in or mail survey through the site visits. The grantees 13 grants notated that they would like to have opportunities to network share information among grantees. Some of the local grantees informed the informal networks to share information have relied on each other. Technical assistance official of the scholarship programs were visited also said that they had would look like opportunity to exchange information with the promising practices of their school. The National Science Foundation convening the meeting of the scholarship program coordinated for their all colleges awarded the National Science Foundation Scholarship of the grant spring 2003. The schools were visited the National Science Foundation and distributed information with the program, responding to questions timely fashion through the email. The conclusion is the H-1 Skill Grant and the Scholarship Grant programs are two key programs that train high skill workers help address employers concerned with skill shortage in the United States, particularly IT healthcare. The skill grant programs flexible allow the high skill level, often the IT related occupations, while the scholarship program attracts and encourages students to stay in the degree program. The coordinate computer skills, engineering, mathematics programs respond to the workforce shortages in either local or national economics. Both programs have encountered challenges during the economic challenges during the early implementation. Labor confusion of the skill granting program resulted in uncertainty. Training of the type of the training should be provided. The labor new reporting requirements for the first required reported due in September 30th, 2002 do not require grantees to collect data on individual participation of level training being provided. Without grantees to collect data on individual participation or the level of the training being provided. With these data, the labor cannot identify whether the program in serving whether the training prepares the participation at HB1 level jobs, career letters, leading to these jobs, limits the ability of the labor to adequately assess the program effectiveness, limited the ability to Congress to determine whether the program is accomplishing its goals. The local scholarship grant program struggled initially to recruiting enough students to fulfill available spaces in the program. However, it appears that in a way, and this may no longer be a problem known, the National Science Foundation broadened the program's financial eligibility requirements. Skill and scholarship grants have been limited to occupation sharing information best practices. However, the overcoming challenge of the program, with Labor recently published a new report of an Exemplary practice of the HB1 training programs that have convened two national meetings of the grantees. There are new mechanisms for the grantees to exchange information and lessons learned with each other on an ongoing basis. On the basis of the site visit, the scholarship program grants are also as interest having the opportunity to share information with each other. The skill of the scholarship programs could also benefit the better communication with each one another. For example, local one-stop could have helped the college with the school grants, recruiting potential students for the scholarship grant. On the other hand, the skill grant programs could have been benefited knowing the scholarship program in the community, since they could be another resource of the participation who were trained through the skill grant programs but wanted to continue to work toward the college degree in computer science, engineering, and mathematics. With many efforts of the trained high school workers under the way in different agencies, the efforts are not coordinated with the agencies to build on lessons learned and maximizing their impact. The progress made in the local level of skill grant, the building a relationship with the employers, identifying the need that has brought in implementation of national efforts that meet the high school needs, the national level of labor. The high school needs a national level. Labor has indicated that some promising efforts, such as analyzing workforce needs of the healthcare, IT, two industries in which employers express concerns of labor shortages. In addition, with partnership in labor, health, and human services to support joint efforts to address the nation's national nursing shortage. As positive example of the bridging initiative across agencies, while the efforts of labor and other agencies moving to the right direction of the broad-based comprehensive approach would help the United States address high school labor needs in a more strategic way. Recommendations for executive action. To ensure the skill grant program can exist effectiveness, then for information about the grantee's successful approach as are shared throughout the program, the Secretary of Labor should implement a new quarterly reporting requirements, expanding requirements to also include the individual participation level of training that is being provided so that it can be better used for whether the program is achieving the goals, establish an outgoing mechanism to share the successful strategies among the grantees, encouraging network. To ensure the scholarship provides improved ability to attract retaining students to this computer science and engineering mathematics fields. The director of the National Science Foundation should establish mechanisms to successfully strategies, encourage the network among the post-secondary schools and their graduate grantees. In addition, the moving arching effort to be responsive to the workforce development needs, the Secretary of Labor should be proactive in building a comprehensive approach for the department across the federal agency to address the high school workforce needed across the country. Agencies' commitments, the Department of Labor, the National Science Foundation, and the Department of Commerce commented on the draft of this report. See the appendixes 7, 8, and 9. General Labor agreed with the recommendation, although the Labor believed the new reporting requirements will be sufficient to provide the needed for the information evaluating program. The NSF General agreed with the report, providing the technical comments with the Commerce raised for the concern about the design of our study. The Commerce did not issue take issue with the recommendations. Commerce with the insurer rested with the recent grant awards of the implementation of the first 3 rounds of the grant awards. Those were focused on the other studies. The recent grant award were so new that the information was generally not available. Participation characteristics of the program operation. Because the Congress asked for the focus on the study of the HB1 programs that are operating, the review of the program that were already in place. Overall commercial comments that appear they consistent with the other findings of the labor has not collected sufficient data of the program to judge its effectiveness. Department of Labor supported the recommendation of Secretary of Labor of the proactive approach of addressing high school and workforce needs across the country. Regarding the recommendation of reporting the requirements, Labor pointed out the ETA recently developed a standard format, the quarterly report. However, will report new reporting requirements, including additional information, participation, demographic characteristics, level of training of the ensuring labor, other evaluates which being served. The training relates to the occupation of the HB1 visa work fields. Labor concerned with the recommendation of the department establishes mechanisms for the guarantees of the successful strategies. In fact, Labor noted that the ETA provided the grantees 2 studies, including the information about the grantees' best practices. Also plans to additional technical assistance support the HB1 program, including the sharing. Commerce in commenting in the draft with critical other decision focusing on the skill grant distributed in the first 3 grants awarded with not more than one recent grantee selection. Mercy notions changed in the law of the 2000 governing the skill grant labor program implementation grant selection have noted that have impacted on the compensation trends and effort. We focused on other workforce round of the government because we obtained the informational grantees for implementation. grant programs. The grantees for the most recent award for the December 2000 could have been provided little, if any, information on actual participations in the training. Commerce was also concerned with the presentation information identifying the occupations of the grantee, showing the information. Commerce stated to the new drew conclusions comparing the labor condition application data and visa petition data for the different years. Other reports, however, does not compare the two sets of the information, but rather pertains to the most recent and available HB1 visa petitions provided by the provided different picture of the HB1 workers' occupations identified through the labor condition application. Further data. Further, as noted the report, the grantee's analysis of the work needed force needed the HB1 visa, HB1 occupation for the labor condition, application for the decision about the application occupation in which the training were based on labor market conditions and employer needs regarding other reporting educational requirements of the HB1 requirements. The IT occupation comments commented with the failed contrast other than that the high portion of the workers who have bachelor's higher degree, the educational profile participation of the grants were surveyed, the education were present, the participation reflecting the education when they entered the program. Participation may achieve the degree as a result of the training. Further, we believe that the time the other survey was earlier to evaluate the number of the degrees of participation attained because of no longer program were not yet completed. We agree that the Commerce Commit with the provided limited information for the level of training being provided. However, the information most extensive data grants could provide that was not provided any other source provided. Our study consequently included the recommendation of labor regarding data collection. Commerce also noted individual duties could vary within same occupation title. With recognized the report this occupation title is vague, but we do believe the INS analysis we represent the INS analysis we present is helpful to identify the occupations that could qualify the HB1 occupations. We recognize that some too are vague categories. Additions that we imply specific company and training of the junior engineering might reduce the firm's the need for the HB1 workers. For this example, which includes the point that only the workers trained by the HB1 grants could perform such other duties other performed HB1 workers. Commerce also commits that we should explore implementation of the career ladder concept of the grantees. Other decision on the career ladders focus on the level training to provide but lead to our decision for the report of the grantees just sure to make more assistance developing and defining career ladders. Commerce and also experienced some of the concerns regarding the review of the International Science Foundation scholarship program. However, additional areas that believe that should be explored, such as whether the scholarship is attracting students who would otherwise propose degrees in discipline who have required a resources-intensive approach, such as surveying school scholarship recipients, were beyond the scope of the study because of the most information available directly from the National Science Foundation program database. We chose to rely on the participation data for our study. All three agencies provided technical comments we incorporated as appropriate. As arranged by the office, unless publicly announced the contents earlier, we plan a further distribution of the report until 30 days of the issue date. At the time we send copies of the report to the Secretary of Labor, the Director of the National Science Foundation, the Secretary of Commerce, and other interested parties. We also make copies to others upon request. In addition, with reports available for no charge of the GAU. If you or your staff have any questions of the report, please contact me at 202-501-7215, Joanne T. Mohagan at 617-565-7532, or other key contribution assignments that are listed in Appendix X. Sigard L. Nilsson, Director, Education, Workforce, Income Security, Issuances. Okay, and the Appendix 1 is Scope and Methodology.